Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new edition of the Low Code Café, episode 57. My name is Bogdan. I'm the CEO of Plant an App, and today we have a very interesting topic for the hands-on part, which is leveraging JavaScript libraries, especially on the backend. So today we are going to see something different than what you are used to. For those of you that are new to this webinar, know that it's something that we do every week, same day, same hour, and it's a community event, a technical community event. So we get to showcase new features that are coming in releases. We get to showcase various techniques that we learn from our support channels, and we also have this bigger chunk, which is showing building something with low code. This webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be available on our YouTube channel. So make sure to visit, subscribe, because there is 56 hours of video so far, just on this Low Code Cafe. We also have many other training videos, so very, very good source for training. The agenda for today it's pretty much the same as every week. We'll have Chad give us some interesting updates from the community, from the broader low-code community. And then we'll see, we'll have Reza, our head of product, give us some highlights about the new release that just went out and upcoming releases. Then we'll have the from the trenches part with Dale, our head of support. That will show us some very cool techniques. And finally, the bigger chunk will take a look at messing with the JavaScript libraries. So that being said, I would like to invite Chad to give us his part. Chad, do you want me to continue sharing, or do you want to share yours?
Yeah, if you just jump over to the next slide, that's the main one we're looking at today. So I was reading a few different articles, and a couple that kind of struck out to me recently are what banks are currently doing with low code. And the big reason behind a lot of these points that we're seeing and what they're ultimately trying to do is because of COVID, naturally, every business has had a bit of a settle down. But what banks are preparing for is a huge influx of loans that are going to be expectedly coming in at that time. And one of the big pieces that they're turning towards is low code for its robotic process automation. Namely, with that second bullet point there that you can see, it used to take some banks up to 100 pages or so to fully fill out a business level loan application. Now with RPA, it's taking them around 24 minutes for that same type of a process. So it's insanely increasing the amount of throughput that they can get through at every given time, because in the end, they only have a small amount of funds available. So the sooner they can get everybody in, the sooner they can pull that out of Federal Reserves or wherever they might have that. Not too familiar myself with the back ends of banking systems, but that is what they're ultimately going towards. And what they're doing with low code is not having to hire a ton of developers. As we know, the developer space is severely constrained right now. Not a lot of people out there to grab anyway. So they're using these citizen level developers, those who know Excel, those who are maybe a little bit more technically minded than their coworkers, to go in and do a lot of that development and a lot of that building for this automation. Now, one thing that I also found interesting this week is Salesforce recently did a survey of the IT decision makers at banks, and they found that 88% of them have said that their workload has increased over the last 12 months. Personally, that's a little bit lower than I thought it'd be. I thought it'd be up into the 90s. But what I found really interesting is that 96% of them said that the current demand for apps is not sustainable for the traditional level of coding. So 90% of them right now are turning over towards low code. So a lot of different things in there, but what's important for that is our space is only going to continue to grow. People like Deloitte say that nearly every single company in the world is going to be using low code by 2023. Gartner predicts that I think it was 65% of all app development is going to be set up to be using low code by 2024. So the space is only getting bigger and bigger within our world. And another key area that some of the banks have been doing is with that robotic process automation, pulling out data. As we know, with Plant an App, it's very easy, and what we're going to be seeing a little bit of today is some of those tools that we can use to actually go in and grab data or do operations on another system versus being just on Plantain app, and how that can pull in data for us, like what one bank is doing, and in particular, to pull data from 26 different systems into just one to allow their financial managers to get into client meetings a lot faster. So that's just a couple things that I've kind of read this week. Few things that might be of interest to you guys, but ultimately it's looking really good for our space. And if you're ever talking to a bank, here's a few different data points you can pull up that they're probably very familiar with already at this point.
Awesome. Thanks, Chad, for setting the broader context of why we are doing what we do. And I think setting up the context for all the subjects that follow today. So Reza, I would like to invite you to give us some product roadmap updates. I will stop my sharing so you can take over.
Sure. Hey, everyone. As you probably saw yesterday in your inbox, the full kind of official announcement of the 1.15 release went out. And so your change logs have everything in there. There was some highlights in the emails. There's been just a little note. There's a couple of minor hot fixes that you might find in there currently or in the coming days. They're pretty niche situations, either to add-ons or for people who have scenarios with like really huge amounts of JSON they're trying to parse through, or something like an inordinate amount. Or if you have like hundreds of entities, some of the limits of that data set were kind of reached. We just extended the limits out for that case. Nothing that should be critical or impacting of 99.9% of people. So feel free to take them if you want. If not, everything should just work fine. The version, though, we had an update that did come out to fix a couple little issues that were found that were pre-existing, actually, and we just went ahead since it was so close to the timing of the release. And rather than push it as a hot fix, we updated the final version of App Builder. So it is 1.15.70 is the actual version. That's a couple of minor increments up from what was released last week. So if you have upgraded, you can take that update if you like. And there's a note in there about what that is in the change log. You might see 2 items listed there. It was just because of it being a required dependency. So it's all just .70. Take the update, you'll be fine. Other than that, everything's been good. I've had good reports from people. Things are working well. So I encourage you to take the release. Just a quick note on 1.16, which we're underway with, and will be coming, in 4 or 5 weeks probably. Is that one note, especially around DNN, we're raising our minimum version to 9.6.2, but also DNN came out, I think, yesterday with 9.10.1. It's got a few little fixes in it and stuff. It's not a major increment or anything, but there is a fix to a security vulnerability that has been in all prior versions of DNN, pretty much, going back to like DNN 6. So we're upped our testing and our compatibility to that. So far, we've had absolutely, in this 1.16, no issues discovered with 9.10.0. So I'm not going to call it like, hey, we've certified it, because it hasn't been through the full round, but we've seen nothing that indicates that it isn't compatible fully with 9.10. So I guess just kind of a heads up that you might want to check out that posting from DNN and see if that vulnerability they found is something that would impact you or not. It is not something that would probably impact most people, but it's there. So heads up, and we're upgrading our testing and our version that we're going to deploy against to be that. Other than that, just kind of focused on the starter apps from templates. Improving the workflow experience, a little bit with the entity building and things like that. Had a really good showing last Friday in the campfire of a proof of concept, and got some good feedback. And I think the team is taking that feedback and carrying it forward in this 1.16 release. So be on the lookout. And that's pretty much it for me today.
Here I am. Good deal, Reza. So I'll continue on with From the Trenches, and this segment today is brought to you directly from questions from the community. And so I've wanted to highlight just a few things, and so we'll dive into these. One, we had somebody asking about using a checkbox list, and so I have a demo of a checkbox list. And the issue was around if people select from a list, and I'll just show the basic operation. If you select from a list, and I've got my form set up to show whatever was selected in when we click submit. But the question was, well, I wanted when somebody clicks none to uncheck things, or if they previously answered none or I don't know, and then decide to answer the question to uncheck from the I don't know, none. So one of the things that I suggested on this was these are actually two separate lists, and there's a little bit of JavaScript behind that. And so we'll take a quick look at that. And then the other thing that I did was just for fun, I added some buttons. So for example, the add meat button selects beef, pork, shrimp. The add dairy buttons adds ice cream and milk. So if you want to add some, do some additive kind of work within Checkbox List, that these techniques are there. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So we'll go into checkboxes, and first on the I'll just show my setup. We have the foods list, which has all of the items, and then we have the foods not applicable in a list, which has I don't know and none. And the setup of these is if you check either the I don't know or none, in the bind expression, we have unchanged click to say, set the foods list to nothing. And so that unchecks everything on the food list through JavaScript. So you get a nice instantaneous response there. And likewise, if we look at the foods list, if in the bind expressions for that, we change the foods NA list to nothing. So by selecting from one list or the other, the alternate list is blanked out, and so then you can use the combination of those two lists as your result, perhaps, that you're saving to your database. So that's the first behavior of blanking out one list or the other, and then I have my add meat button. And the technique that I'm using for that is to say that I'm going to inject data. First of all, I'm setting foods equal to the previous value of foods plus pork, shrimp, beef. And of course, these lists could be built up dynamically if the list were dynamic. I'm dealing with a very simple case, a static list. But pork, shrimp, beef is added, and the control itself sorts out whether or not those things were previously checked, and adds it to everything else that was previously checked based on foods. And then in the second case, I'm setting the foods NA list to blank, so that at the same time that happens, when they click the meat button, that the foods NA list also gets blanked out. And then I'm using the update form with Ajax so that the form updates immediately and doesn't clear. And then the add dairy button, in the same way, we are injecting data, and we're setting the foods equal to whatever the foods was previously plus milk and ice cream. So you get a nice behavior out of that. And so then just in summary, when we look at this, we can have beef checked and then say add meat. It leaves beef checked and adds these other two things. The add dairy button works, and the none button, these lists alternate. So kind of a nice behavior, and without having to get into too difficult JavaScript to make it all work. So that was Checkbox List. We also had a question asking about launching a pop-up form from a listing. And so I have this form. I have a grid or listing that's there, and I'll show the use case first. Let's say that we wanted to initiate something with my list of users, and so I have my DW user with an email, dalewarner@plantonapp.com. I click launch form, I get a nice pop-up that has things filled in, and then I can fill in, do additional things on the form. So we're pre-initializing a form that pops up right on the screen. So the technique that makes that happen, if we look at the grid, at the listing, we have our launch form button, and the only action that's there is to open an action form pop-up and continue execution. And in that, we select what form we want to pop up. And then here's the things that we're passing. We're passing first name, email, and last name into that form. And so those values are then available to initialize the form. And I'll show you that in just a second. But so now getting back to the question at hand, the only the question that actually came in as the case, the developer had gone to select module and couldn't find his form within the list and was trying to figure out why that is. And the answer is that only forms that are on the same page are present in that list. It has to be on the same page in order for that particular mechanism to work. So, then just close the loop, I do have the case information form here on the same page. We'll bring it up here, the case information form. And just to show how that's set up, to have it be on the same page and yet not pop up, you would use the display mode of manual. That makes it so it's not there. And until you do one of these things that are listed here or use that open pop-up action, it just sits quietly on the page. And then just to close the loop on the initial values, I'm getting the FN, which was passed from that open pop-up action, to initialize the first name and also last name and email. So I'm getting that from the query string, and it initializes that. So the end result, then you're looking at a listing, and you can click launch form on any of these, and it pre-fills in the form for you, ready to go. So nice little technique. And then finally, we had a question on how to delete a user if you're going to develop your own management system for adding and managing and deleting users. So somebody wanted to delete a user using a listing. And so I have an example of that here. And so, for example, if I wanted to get rid of my test4 user, I have a button, I can click the button, I get a "Are you sure?" dialog, but if I say yes, it goes away. Behind the scenes, what that looks like is we go to our item button of delete, and I have a couple other buttons that I was playing with that I've hidden, but this is the one we're talking about today. So we have delete using hard delete. Are you sure you want to permanently delete the user? That's where my "Are you sure?" dialog comes from. I've limited this to only roles that should have the right to delete it. That'll prevent it from being used otherwise. And so the core actions that are necessary to do that, we have to do a load user of whatever user ID is that sets the context in that particular user. And then we have a delete user action where we check hard delete. That user will then, the user that was specified in the load user action will then be deleted. Along the way, I also put some information into the logs showing that I actually did this, so it would be a record of it. And for nicety, I created a pop-up that said that it got done so that we can see it was done. And as a final step, I did a data source refresh so that the grid is updated without that item, without that user in it. So 3 quick ones: manipulating a checkbox list, doing a pop-up form from a listing, deleting a user from a listing, and all that came from questions we got on the well, from the trenches, from our help desk and from the community forum. I'll put a shout out again. Community forum is a great place to get a lot of answers. There were a lot of questions that got answered by our community this week, and that's always a big thank you to people who participate over there. Reza mentioned earlier that we have campfire on Fridays. This is a little less structured of it's a meeting rather than a webinar, an opportunity to come and talk about the problems that you're facing or ideas, and it's just a spot for low-code developer enthusiasts to gather and have a chat. So we do that Fridays 10 a.m. Central, and I'm going to post a link to that and some other things, chat and whatnot on the chat just as soon as I quit talking here. So at this point, I'm going to invite Radu to come along and continue with the presentation for today.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
Hey, man.
Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Absolutely. Good.
All right. All right, cool. That's nice. All right. So today, the main topic it will be to show some tips and tricks on how you can utilize already existing JavaScript libraries in Plantain app. And I'm also gonna tell you how I started using this method to solve different problems during the presentation. But the idea will be something like this. So there's already written code libraries that are already written by someone. You do not need to reinvent the wheel for that one. And for JavaScript, at least the ones that are in plain JavaScript, they're not using jQuery or anything like that. We can utilize those into the workflows. And how we are gonna do it, it's not really complicated. But the trick will be to show. And I prepared some demos about three libraries, and have a look on how we can utilize in our advantage. So just as a simple example, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do this just to show how it works. It will be, so for example, the first library that I want to have a look, it's math.js. So math.js basically is just a more advanced mathematics library. So you can have, and what I'm actually interested in is this function math.evaluate, where I can pass a function and an expression, a mathematical expression, and this is gonna get evaluated. Then you're gonna say, wait, Radu, but you Plantain app already has the do math token. Well, yes, but that's only for basic operations. But here we have some. The math.js has even it's more advanced in terms of calculations. And if you're interested in something specifically from this library, I can show you how you can bring it into Plantain app from as a backend, a backend service for it. So the main idea will be something like this. So the first thing that we need to do is go and find the JavaScript itself. Usually the easiest way to do this is by just searching the CDN or something somewhere where the JS is, because we are not interested in downloading the file itself. We're interested in the code that's inside of it. So I'm just gonna middle click on this CDN, and I'm just gonna copy the URL and open it in a new browser. And I have the code inside. The code is it's minified, but still, I'm not interested in anything that's in here. The thing that I want to do is just select all and copy the code. And now I can move back in Plantain app in the workflows. So something that I have here is I already have this, but let me show how it's actually done. So I'm taking the code, the whole code that I need, and just give it a second. And I'm just basically pasting the whole content of the JavaScript, of the JS file inside this action. It's gonna be a really long, big chunk of code here. But right now, after I'm going to do this, I have all the functionality of that library. It's available for me. So now I can use functions from that library. And what I'm doing in return is basically I'm just taking math.evaluate and I'm taking the expression, and the expression itself is going to be the mathematical expression, which is an input parameter to this workflow. So expression that you are seeing here, it's actually the input parameter that I have here. The JavaScript action itself, it automatically binds all the tokens, and you can use them as variables into the JavaScript code itself. So what I'm interested in here is math.evaluate and the expression, something that we can see here as an example on their front page. So let's actually copy this expression in by itself, and I'm returning the evaluation. So let me click save and test, and I can put in the expression, and now I'm getting the JavaScript code to run on the backend, and I'm utilizing the JavaScript library that was already written, so I can leverage that in my advantage. If I want, I can, and it's gonna handle all the operations for me. If you are interested in something more, in something different, like the derivatives, or I don't know, the round of values and stuff like that, you can create different actions including this code, and this code you can use all the functions that you have here. Now, that being said, you're gonna say, well, yeah, that's nice, but that's not really useful. not all my projects use math inside, and that's true. There may be some situations where you need the different functions and different things for calculating finance information, maybe where you need to have this available, and instead of finding the proper expressions and writing the proper expressions, I don't know, in maybe a Reza token or a SQL that can calculate that, you can already you can just use the power of copy pasting of an existing library and use that. Now, this is the easiest example that I could find, and it's very simple to use. But I want to talk about I have another two libraries, and the one that actually got me started in doing this was that I was struggling. I'm not gonna say a lot, but enough to become a pain for me to get JSONs parsed, and it wasn't the problem that Plantain App doesn't have JSON parsers itself. There are actions to do that. But the idea was that I was sometimes what I was looking for in that situation, I was looking for something that I can specify the path of a JSON that I'm interested in, the path inside the JSON that I'm interested to pull. And that actually bugged me. And I started searching a little bit on the internet, and I found this library which is called JSON path. And JSON path itself, let's give me a second. JSON path itself has, if some of you used XPath for XML parsing, has this, can use like it's really close to a jQuery syntax where you can specify exactly what do you want to pull from the JSON. So the root, store, book, all the books, and from all the books I want to bring out the author. So by doing that, I can bring all the information that I'm interested in from that JSON without having to go through complex operations to pull in those informations. And the trick here was that I actually did I did the same trick here. I imported the script from the JSON and put it in an action, and I said, well, wouldn't it be funny if I could specify also the API that I want to pull the information from? So in the end, I came up with a workflow that I can specify the API URL, and I can specify the JSON path, and it's going to pull me direct the information that I'm interested in from any API. And the trick here was that now with the new functionality where workflows can be tokens, I can utilize the power of the tokens, and I can bring any API, any API information anywhere in the platform that I want to. So what I did, I have an I prepared. Give me a second. I prepared an API that's actually, let me show exactly. It's actually bringing the example itself. So this is what's going to bring back to me. Then let's go back to the workflow and have the JSON path extractor workflow. And let's say I want, let's use their example, this here. An adjustment that I did this. So I'm bringing out all the authors. Initially, the library was bringing a JSON back, but I'm not interested in bringing a JSON itself. I'm interested in bringing the data. So instead of bringing the response of the JSON, I'm bringing comma separated values whenever there are multiple values. Because if I'm interested, for example, only in the first author name, then it's going to have Evelyn Bot. So the idea to be the trick here was that now that I have this, what I did was, I'm just going to let me duplicate this tab. I can go into the tokens and I can create a helper token. Maybe let's utilize this. I can call JSON extractor, maybe, or value extractor. Have it like this JSON value extractor. I can say I want to any input type of workflow. I'm gonna select the workflow that I'm looking for, JSON path extractor, and I want GP data to be my default value. I don't want caching. I don't want anything else. I can just click save and test. Now I'm missing the API and the JSON path. So let me copy this really quickly. This is the API that I'm interested in, and this is the JSON path that I'm interested in. So now I have my own, the idea to be that I have full power now to bring everything that I want from an API that I want. So in the initial when I came up with this initially, the idea was that I needed something, and in this case was a token. I needed something to create custom templates on different pages based on different parameters, based on different things. And this token itself gave me the opportunity to create my own the layout as I wanted. I could choose any layout that I want. If I want a big header with I don't know, some tabs or anything, or some images or anything like that, it gave me the opportunity to just replace information exactly where I wanted. So I kind of accidentally, let's say, created my own templating system inside Plantanet. So that's, and I really thought that that was actually really cool. So before I move to the last library itself, I'm just curious if are there any questions, Dale, until now?
Well, there aren't questions yet, but I'm trying to wrap my head around it, because I think you've done something pretty amazing, putting all the pieces together, and I'll make sure I understand it. The end result is you have a token, and the token can go get data from our system, or really any system,
yep,
and extract. You specify a JSON path, and boom, you've got all this information.
Yep.
It's doing that by running a workflow, and where we've consumed a commonly freely available JSON path extractor, and consuming any API that we have authorization to use.
Yep.
I guess security might come into a little. Security could be a little bit more difficult. Could bring some things into it, but it really it says I can get data from anywhere and pop it into my whatever I'm using. In your case, a template, very simply, very easily. Just makes it very easy to consume.
Yep. Yeah, and the trick here, that as you can see, this is basically the implementation of the whole story. There are just two actions, and the first action is where I'm doing a server request, and yeah, it's true. I'm expecting to be able to open unsecured, I'm not going to say unsecured, but an API that doesn't need any kind of authentication. And I'm just utilizing the server request to specify the API and doing a get request. I'm taking the whole JSON and I'm taking the whole response, and I'm expecting it to be JSON. And after that, I'm using the same trick. I'm using the whole library, and in the end, I've written two more JavaScript lines. So I had this extractor done in 10 minutes. Something like that. So it's
and depending on what you're doing, you might have wanted the JSON back, and
you can just remove the dot join that I'm doing in the end, and you basically get the JSON return, and you can do other manipulation after. You can load it into entities. You can do other things, but it's just an easy way to get the to basically filter or extract the information from a JSON. The API can be hard-coded if you are not interested in, if you need proper security and you don't want to pass the API, you can create your own flow that fits your need. But I try to go with the most generic use case that I had, the one that you can even specify the API. You're right, there are some things that, specifying bearer tokens for authentication, JWT tokens, but you can create. In that situation, maybe it's worth it to create a JSON extractor for each individual service that you need to authenticate with.
So I see we do have a question, just kind of trying to, Jim asks, where is the copied JavaScript library executing? Is it on the server?
It's on backend. It's not, and just to mention this, this is not Node.js. I think it's called ClearScript from Microsoft. It's a .NET library that enables you to run JavaScript on backend. And with another mention that because it's on backend, you cannot manipulate anything from the front end. So you don't have the document, the DOM structure or anything like that. So usually it's okay to use the just plain JavaScript. Do not expect you cannot import jQuery or Angular, JS, React, or anything like that here. It's not expecting you will not be able to use, but plain JavaScript libraries, and the majority of them work in plain JavaScript. You can just use them to extract the power of them.
And just for these first two that you've used, math.js and this JSON path extractor, these were open source, right?
I think so. Yeah, I just found them over the internet. Yeah, I think they're open source.
So that's where we get on the on the shoulders of giants. The idea that all this difficulty has been handled, and we just consume it. And the low code framework that we've got lets it be consumed quite easily.
Yep.
And okay, from the other Jim, what action type did the JS get added into the workflow?
Execute JavaScript server.
Okay.
This is the action.
Great.
All right.
So what else you got for us?
Okay, so now this is when researching libraries to do this demo, I was discussing with Bogdan, and he came with some ideas, and we came with some ideas, and the one that we chose together was it's called it's from sugar.js, and actually it's give me a second. Give me 1 second. It's actually a library that's transforming natural language into actual JavaScript data. So I can say I can use any from here, end of February, and so on, and it knows exactly what the dates are going to be, and it can basically interpret text and transform it to dates. So next Monday, for example, or in 10 days, for example, in 30 minutes, and so on. So it calculates based on it's relative to the day we are in, and it calculates the different dates in the future, in the past, whenever you want. So all those snippets that are here can be used. And while researching this, I saw that this library supports adding your own custom, let's say, templates for parsing. Yeah, because yeah, it's made to be in English, but some languages maybe have specific information. Even from what I see here, it supports some languages has predefined. It has predefined some predefined languages. So basically, I again did the same trick. It did the workflow of, again, only one action: execute JavaScript on server. And again, I copied, this time I copied the non-minified version. It doesn't really matter in this situation. And what I'm doing is, again, I'm just reusing the library to create a date based on an expression, exactly as I was doing with math.js, I'm doing here. So I'm leveraging now that whatever
your
you
input,
on,
your input is expression. Yeah.
Yes. Next day, for example, and I'm invalid in 3 days. All right, in 3 days. So it's getting me a return value of a specific date in a ISO date mode. Mm-hmm. But if you want, you can bring the idea. It will be that because you are leveraging the JavaScript, you can choose to have to ISO string to UTC, and so things like that. So now if I try again, and I'm gonna say now, it's gonna say August 25 and Greenwich with the Greenwich day. It's a little bit more longer story to. It's a longer story to bring here the time zone, but but you can do it. You can recalculate based on the time zone that you are. But that wasn't my main target with this example. The idea was that while leveraging this this JavaScript library, what I did was something like this. So I have something called a surprise workflow. I didn't want to spoil it from the start, but it's actually using the Sugar.js date creation. And this one, it's the same thing. It's the same library. The only thing is that I've added I added a few. So I think from here to the, let me see if I can. Yeah, so from here to the bottom, I've added some JavaScript myself. So what I'm doing actually here, and let me show you exactly what I'm doing. I have the option to input a free text, and it's gonna extract all the dates that it finds from that text. So just with that small piece of code at the bottom. So can we today or on Friday, for example? I can click run, and it's gonna or on Friday. Oh, I'm sorry. It's okay, like this. I'm sorry. I forgot to exclude some of the sites. So it's, yeah, and it's bringing me to the date of today, and it's bringing me the date for Friday right now. So I'm able right now to extract any kind of the dates that the library supports. I can extract and have those in a JSON format. And I said, all right, okay, that may be cool, but I didn't stop here, and I actually hooked up this workflow to my inbox. So whenever I get a new email, I'm gonna automatically extract the dates from my email addresses, and just by that, I can, I can go nuts. Create calendar. I can do different things by just extracting information from the emails. Just give me 1 second to enable the job. I didn't want to have all the mails that I get until the demo is ready. Let me enable the job that it's watching the email right now, and just give me a second, and I'm gonna shoot myself an email. And everyone that wants, we can, even you, Dale, if you want, you can just shoot me an email, and we can see how this works. let's see. Let me log in into a Gmail account. I'm gonna use my. All right. Let's see. Okay, so I'm having here, and I'm gonna say hi. Hi, Radu. Can we meet tomorrow or on Friday? Will next week for you? And I'm just gonna shoot myself an email. Okay, let me do this. I hit send. Give it, please just give it a few seconds for the email to arrive and the inbox checker to pull it out. But the main idea will be that in the end, if I go to the main application and I go here under emails, okay, let's remove this. Hey Radu, can we meet tomorrow or on Friday? Will next week work for you? And I extracted those dates, and now if I go on this email that I shoot myself to, I can see the 2 days that was extracted. I see that it's a small issue here with having Friday next to a question mark. It's not saying Friday. That's something that I missed. It's not perfect. I just did it for this demo. But I'm at the moment. I'm just if you have. Okay, so can we meet on this Friday at 9 a.m. or should we wait until Monday, Patrick? Okay, and let's see what dates we have here. Right, so it says it's on 9 p.m. as a date itself. So we have, can we meet on Friday? So Friday is 27, so we got that one. Friday at 9 p.m. it got that one as well, and wait until Monday. So we got Monday as well here. No.
Question mark.
Yeah, the question mark. Sorry, I can fix that. I can fix that. It's annoying everyone when you invite.
I think it's annoying you most of all. We all know we got to do test and debug, but
I have
you know right where it is. Okay, and I sent you one. I'm trying to see if I can throw it off or not, but
let's see, something like this. Okay, I need to. All right, and I think I had another. There was another one here. Should we meet tomorrow or after the day after the Labor Day? Okay, let's see what we got.
What do we got?
We got.
Yeah, so Labor Day didn't happen. That was a stretch, I know, but I'm a troublemaker. But sure, today. Yep.
Yeah. Look, it's not perfect, and it's maybe someone wants to go nuts with it and try to optimize it even more. I did some kind of optimizations and stuff like that, and to not have duplicate dates, to ignore some of the exclamations and the dot and the comma and stuff like that. The idea was that, again, it took me, I think this one took me like a half an hour, and I just implemented something that's watching my email address, and it's outputting all the dates that it finds by processing the natural language of an email. And I'm no machine learning specialist or anything. I just copied something that was already there and leveraged that information.
So we do have another question from the other Jim. Can the third-party library be linked in as a file to minimize the maintenance? I would think you could do a server read action to grab it.
Yeah, I think you can do something like that. The idea will be that you may,
so long as it's unmodified.
I think you can do a Ajax request initially and bring that library in the context, and after that use the functionality. Or maybe we can discuss with someone from development and just ask them to have some inputs here where we can put the CDN directly the JS link, so we don't need to do this trick. But yeah, I just to answer Jim. I don't know. I didn't write it, but it should work.
Okay, now we're back to the first, Jim. Does .NET compile these on the server?
Yes, I think yes. It's I'm not sure if it's an interpreter.
Yeah.
Interpreter behind the scene. I don't know. I didn't implement the backend function, the action itself, but I assume it's on a server side. Yeah, that's it. And I'm looking into the chat right now, and it's Jimmy said so. Dynamic linking would be slow. Dynamic linking would be slow because you'll need to you'll have the same problem as any browser. You'll have to download the file each time. Maybe you can have the opportunity to cache those requests. So you only do it once a day or something like that, so you don't need to do the request each time. But having with you copy paste, this will definitely reduce the need of you won't need to do a server request to bring the JS file itself. Maintenance schedule, yeah, something like that.
Well, very good. Do you have any other surprises for us?
No. No. That's all.
So just kind of summarizing, we used libraries just as they came. The math and the JSON. On the Smart Date, you used it just as it came and consumed it, and then the other one you modify it. So if you have if you don't have any don't have any JavaScript skills, you can consume them directly just as they're published and likely get them to work in short order. And then if you do have some JavaScript skills, you could modify the JavaScript to do something different, so long as it was permissible under the license.
I'm not going to say modify. I'm just going to say basically extend.
Yeah, and whatever. But yeah.
It's your. You can do, you can create your own logic. It's a nice, interesting thing because it's easier and available. It's really available for everyone to do. If you find it over the internet and you have access to it, just copy paste it here and utilize it. It's no compiling anything, no DLLs, no complicated stuff by any means. And you are reusing and they're actually pretty nice things written. Like JavaScript is, I think, the most popular computing language. So at that point, we basically kind of have everything that we're searching for JavaScript. So
I can see a new lesson needs to be added to the Low Code Academy, right? Adding this content. Maybe this is in the next class, advanced, but being able to use these, I can see myself using all of these. Very, very clever stuff. We do have 2 or 3 minutes, so if you have a question, now is a good time to get them in. And if you have a comments or a thumbs up, Radu definitely appreciates all the good feedback we can give to him.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if this was added, Radu, but I was just thinking that a very nice way to use these libraries would be to maybe do other workflows that bring them via server requests and cache them, right? So then you could link directly to the URL of the library that lives, let's say, on a cloud server, instead of having to copy paste the code, right?
Oh, yeah.
You could include it then maybe via tokens or eval function to include it in the script. So that will help be more organized, because I did saw a comment on how to import these libraries without copy pasting them.
Oh, okay. I see. It was just, it is what it is. I just found the easiest, the easiest
sure.
way
Well, this is what isn't it very typical? It's walk and crawl and run, right? So we're walking. We're doing some. I'm sorry, crawl, walk, run. You got to start slow, but we've got a good direction now. We can run with it.
Yeah. Yep. It's yeah. All
right. So I think we are about ready to wrap. It's been a good session, lots of good feedback. And oh yeah, we got a question from Albert. Should we sing happy birthday to Bogdan? I don't think I can let everyone sing at the same time, but I can sure sing. No, we don't want that. We don't want that.
Yeah,
So,
I'm 40.
Happy
Not a
birthday.
good time.
I'm sorry?
I just turned 40, so it's not a good time to sing.
Well, condolences. Thanks. You want to wrap us out here?
Sure. So again, thanks everyone for making the time to be part of this webinar. Hope you enjoyed the content today. We got plenty of it coming. As always, we appreciate your feedback and your ideas. So if any of this sparked your curiosity, your imagination, you want to challenge us with any topic, we do have a feedback form in the chat window. Make sure to fill it out or just drop us an email. So thanks again for being here. Thanks again to all the presenters that made the effort to prepare this content. And we'll be seeing each other next week. Same day, same hour. Bye.